Hey, Falcons and NFL fans, welcome to another episode of NFL Jocks and Pigskins with Tom Pollen. I'm Dave Holcomb. Atlanta Falcons played in their first preseason game last week. Tom had a great detailed episode breaking down, what little, I guess, could be taken away from that kind of bad performance by some parts of the Falcons roster. There were some bright spots as well, but we're looking forward to breaking down the next Falcons preseason game next week, but we're going to preview that game today. The Falcons taking on the Miami Dolphins in South Florida tonight.
Yeah, the Dolphins played pretty well against the Bears last week. Kind of forgot to win the game. Kind of forgot to cover Justin Fields. Fields kind of tore him up a little bit, but I won't get into Justin Fields today, Dave. That's all right.
Yeah, I don't think the Falcons faithful would rather not.
Bears fans had a big Justin Fields experience. Let's put it that way last week. But Tua played well. You weren't seeing the Bears didn't play any of their first string, but still. Tua played well, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does against the Falcons this week, considering that the Falcons' defense, they showed good in spots, and there were some good individual performances, but overall, I would like to see that defense become a little bit more cohesive. They were terrible against the run game last week.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to see the game, so I'm counting on what I learned from you from last week's show. I didn't feel like it was worth going back and watching, just because it sounded like it was a really bad Falcons performance. To be honest,
it really was.
Yeah.
Offensive line did not do much, and that's the problem because it's doubtful whether McGarry's going to be ready for the first game. And you're looking for a left guard that can step in. But I didn't see any examples of that last week either, where, you're expecting Jalen Mayfield to step in and kind of be
the starting tackle.
Yeah, I mean, third round pick, you would think that he'd be capable of being that starting tackle, but really didn't show much on the first drive, went back, and you could see he was kind of being tutored on the sidelines during the Dolphins' first drive, came back out and didn't look much better. So I would like to see a lot more from him this week that we didn't get to see last week. Really didn't get to see the Falcons' offense overall last week. And there really wasn't much to say. McCarron, we found out why he's not considered an athletic quarterback. Because he can't get out of anything. But he was rushed heavy. And yes, Falcons, I know McCarron, I know he's bad. I understand that you're not counting on A.J. McCarron to get you in the playoffs. But if Matt Ryan goes down, A.J. McCarron's the only player between you and the playoffs. And, where you go from there, unless the Falcons can pick up, somebody else's roster cut.
Well, okay. A couple things I want to respond to there. It's hard to really judge McCarron when he's running around, and that's not his spring.
Yes, it is.
So you brought up Caleb McGarry. Orlando Ledbetter from the AJC, his sentence that I read in his story is a little confusing, but I believe he said McGarry is back or is off of the PUP list.
Is he off the PUP list? Okay, because something I read this past week made it sound like he might not be back for the start of the season.
Well, I guess just because you're off the PUP list doesn't mean you're going to play right away, right? Because that list is that rolls you out for the first 6 weeks, correct? If you're on the PUP list. So I guess that means he's going to play within the first month of the season, month and a half. He might not be ready for week one. That would help if he's back sooner rather than later, because then Mayfield could slide in. Ledbetter was talking about this as well in his story this week, that Mayfield would slide in at another weak spot at left guard.
At left guard, right.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that, Mayfield's going to solidify the left guard spot. He played right tackle entirely at Michigan. So that will be an adjustment. But at least I think that would be a little bit better. And I don't know if there's any chance that happens for McCarron tonight. But if somehow the blocking is just better for McCarron, then we can actually evaluate his play. And then I guess my second reaction to what you just said, is there any team, any situation where you're like, yeah, we can make the playoffs with our backup quarterback. We can make noise with our backup quarterback. There might be like 2 or 3 teams
I know
that can say that. It's just the nature of the NFL. If you lose your franchise quarterback, if you lose Matt Ryan, your season's over.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean
that doesn't mean AJ McCarron isn't the best backup option for the Falcons. That's the nature of the league, unfortunately. With 32 teams, there aren't 32 caliber quarterbacks to start even. So then when you start talking about backups, it's hard to get a good backup quarterback. Like Matt Schaub was a decent backup quarterback for a long time. He didn't really play. I think he's made one start with Atlanta, his second stint in Atlanta. But if McCarron has to play, if the backup quarterback has to play in Atlanta, then the season is over, unfortunately, no matter who it is.
Yeah, no, and you're right. You're right, but you always like to see somebody who's competent, who kind of can get a handle on an offense.
Yeah.
But it was tough to see. I mean, we really saw nothing of Arthur Smith's offense last week because,
that's by design. He doesn't want to tip his hand too much, right?
No, but even basic, they really didn't execute anything last week. Tajay Sharp had a couple of good catches.
Yeah.
Both of them were wiped up off the stat sheet because of penalty. So,
right.
What a Jalen Mayfield penalty. But
if we think all the way back to 2 weeks ago, it feels like a really long time ago for me. Tajay Sharp really impressed me at the open practice.
Yeah.
And I'm also interested that you said you made 2 nice catches last week. I don't care that they were wiped out by penalty. I mean, that it's an issue for whoever committed the penalty, but it's not an issue for Tajay Sharp.
No. It still goes on the game film. I mean,
right. And
the coaches still see what he did last week.
Exactly. And even without Julio Jones, it just seems like it's still a very crowded wide receiver playmaker room for the Falcons, and Tajay Sharp is part of.
Yes.
Sharp is part of why I think Sharp has looked pretty good this month, and is proving that if possible they need to make a roster spot for him.
Well, as I said, Tajay Sharp is a guy I wanted to see the Bears draft when he came out.
Mm-hmm.
He looked really good coming out of college, and was a mid-round pick, and. I was impressed with him. I thought he played well with the Titans, the few years he was there. Didn't play much with the Vikings last year, but I thought was one of the strong free agent pickups that the Falcons made this last offseason. I want to see what Tajay Sharp does again this week. He proved to be a fairly nice emergency option for McCarron. Somebody McCarron could get the ball and know that he's got a good chance of getting a completion. It looked like McCarron was kind of looking for him a couple of times. So
yeah.
I like that he has that kind of, a quarterback has that kind of confidence in a receiver. That's nice to see. Now, we didn't see the ones. We didn't see the twos last week.
Right.
But, these are still things you look for. You look for, some tendencies. Look to see what kind of upsides you have with a player. And, Sharp made me think that he's still got some time left in the NFL that he can contribute to this Falcons team.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, currently on the, take this with a grain of salt. If you're looking at the official depth chart on AtlantaFalcons.com, there's 2 different wide receiver starters, and Sharp is listed as the 3rd guy on one of the wide receiver spots. So he's either 5 or 6, which is, pretty much right on the roster bubble.
Yeah, right where he's going to get it.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't see, the problem is he's got some solid receivers in front of him. Zacchaeus, Christian Blake, Calvin Ridley, and Russell Gage. That's a tough bubble to crack. And
that's what I'm saying. Even without Julio Jones, it seems like, man, we're gonna have to cut a pretty good wide receiver, or a wide receiver that's played well for us this training camp, this preseason.
You also got Chris Rowland. He was returning punts and kickoffs for the Falcons last week, and I want to see if he's going to do that again tonight, or if Smith is going to try somebody else out in the punt return duties. But Rowland did look fairly effective. He didn't get a lot of yards, but he at least looked like, he was trying to make something happen, on punt returns. I like to see that. But he's also another wide receiver. If he makes it, if he comes on as a punt returner, you got to make room for him.
Right.
And that becomes a tough thing.
Yes. And I mean, that's not even counting Cordero Patterson, who's kind of a wide receiver, kind of a running back, really just a kickoff specialist. On the depth chart, he's listed as a running back.
Well, he's a coverage specialist too.
Right.
And that's one of the things I tried to make clear last week is don't worry that overly worry that the Falcons had too many blown coverages, on coverage teams. Because Patterson is just fast, and he's strong, and he's got wide receiver moves. He doesn't get jammed on the line of scrimmage too often when it comes to being a gunner on the coverage teams. Mm-hmm. So he's going to get downfield. He's going to get downfield as fast as the ball, and he's going to make tackles. You're going to see Cordero Patterson make a lot of plays for the Falcons on special teams this year. Even if he does nothing on offense, he's going to contribute.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. My only point is that's another roster spot that's going. It's definitely going to Patterson.
Right.
And he's not even among the wide receivers we're talking about. He's at running back.
Right.
And, I think the Falcons have some pretty capable running backs as well. You got Mike Smith. I know you talked about Quadri Allison quite a bit at the end of the show last week, where he didn't play. He didn't play in the open practice either.
I was a little surprised by that too. But, somebody did make a comment, said that he didn't dress, and I appreciated that because I wasn't sure if he dressed and didn't play, or I was going to be more concerned about Allison if he dressed and didn't play than if he were just on the sidelines, not dressed out. So
I guess he's dealing with an injury. I'm not. I'd have to double check that, but I think that's why he didn't play in the open practice. But at that time, I thought he was going to begin practicing, the following week, and then, I hear about a week later he didn't play in the game, which was a week after the open practice. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But that is again, those are 3 roster spots at running back that you're probably locked up.
Right.
And at the open practice, I don't know did these guys play last week? Caleb Huntley and Javon Hawkins. I thought they looked really good in the practice I saw.
Yeah.
How did they play in the game?
It was tough to actually judge again because of the offensive line problems, but I thought they ran well. I just don't think there's going to be room on the roster for them.
That's our point here is that running back and wide receiver, the Falcons are very I don't know if loaded is the right word, but they have a lot of quality guys those 2 positions.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, Huntley would like to see. Huntley and Hawkins, I think, are guys who are, going to be kind of practice squad material at the end of camp. We'll see if they, get re-signed on the practice squad. I think the practice squads are expanded again this year, so they're going to have a chance to actually get some of these players that maybe aren't going to be part of the Falcons this season, but where the coaches see some potential, and that's what they're going to be looking for again tonight is potential. Right. Are we going to see these guys, build on what they did in week 1, and are they going to be good practice squad candidates when we go to fill that out after their preseason game?
We're talking Atlanta Falcons playing their second preseason game tonight against the Miami Dolphins. Send us your comments. We'll get to them live on the show. You can also, if you're listening on replay, tweet at us at TJ Pollen, at DM Holcomb. And please, if you like the show, like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get all of the Atlanta sports news on our channel. Atlanta Braves all of a sudden really hot. They've won 7 or 8 in a row. They're in first place, and it's like, oh, everything's normal again in the NL East.
Without Acuna too. I mean, that's a heck of a run without one of your best players on the field.
Freddy Freeman hit for the cycle the other day, and the stat that they put up was he's the first baseman to have multiple cycles in his career.
Really?
I was dumbfounded by that stat. Yeah, that was
wild.
In the history of baseball, like that 120 years, there hasn't been another first baseman with 2 cycles, at least 2.
That's amazing.
Really I guess because, first basemen aren't very fast. They're not getting many triples.
Well, first base is where you used to hide your sluggers. That was the place where you hid the worst fielding player you had because he hit 30, 40 home runs a season. So that's where you used to hide a guy. So, not known for their speed, not known for their ability to get on base, known for putting the ball over the fence. Yeah.
Yeah. But, so Fred, that's a good trivia question. Freddie Freeman, only first baseman in history with 2 cycles.
That is wild. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always liked Freeman. He's always been a quality player to me. So I'm happy to see it. I've always had thought he was one of the better first basemen in the league, one of the top guys, and he proves it every year. He comes out and he plays. So one of my non-Cub favorites. Well, I have a lot of non-Cub favorites considering.
Yeah.
Most of the Cubs have taken a powder. Yeah.
I believe Freeman got off to a really slow start. He was hitting like 220 in June.
And he had COVID before during spring training.
That's true. He did. And I guess that probably impacted him. But he's an MVP candidate again at this point, where the Braves are and what he's doing. No Acuna, as you said. So yeah, he's an MVP candidate, and it's exciting watching the Braves as we're getting close to the home stretch, and the Braves are in first place, and they're playing the Baltimore Orioles this weekend. Hopefully, they're kind of playing a bunch of bad teams right now, and they're taking care of business. So we'll see if they can.
That's the thing. Same in football. You play 500 against the top competition, and you beat the hell out of the bad teams in the league.
Right.
That's what you do. That's how you win. That's how you get into first place.
Yep. That's exactly what the Braves are doing right
now. The bottom, you got to feed off these guys. And that's where you make your run. So it's good to see if the Braves are playing some of the bottom teams in the major leagues, that this is the time. This time to make their move. I think they could compete with anybody.
They're getting hot at the right time. Yeah, if they can keep this going into September, they're definitely getting hot at the right time. So we'll
still got the Cubs on their schedule because that's a good 3-game winning streak for us.
I don't know if the Cubs are on the schedule to end the season. They do have, I think they have 2 West Coast trips still coming up. They haven't been on the West Coast yet, which is kind of amazing.
That really is.
So they still have to play LA. They still have to play us. I think they have to play San Diego. They still have to play San Francisco, and San Francisco's also coming to Atlanta. Yeah. So they've got some tough games coming up.
Bringing Chris Bryant to Atlanta, right?
Yeah. But check out all our Braves content on Atlanta Sports Unlimited on YouTube. Subscribe.
We're getting into college football coverage. We got Braves coverage. We got Major League Soccer. So a lot of coverage on this channel. So it's time to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Gary Holcomb. That's a good point, Gary. Yeah, especially in the time when I grew up, when we grew up. As I say, first basemen were not known for their speed. You have guys like Boone Powell, who else? Just these big first basemen that were, plotters. They might get the second if they line drive to the wall. They might get the second base on a ball hit into the right field corner. But they weren't making it to third base without oxygen.
So we've discussed the offense for the Falcons, and I think there were more bright spots from what I've read and heard on defense, actually, which is kind of interesting for the first game. It's only one game, but I mean, what are you looking for out of the defense tonight? Who do you have your eyes on, and like, I guess, who do you want to build off of what they did last week? And then, I mean, what guys are you looking to maybe emerge and that didn't do much last week?
Well, I want to see more of Marlon Davidson. No, not Marlon. Yeah, Marlon Davidson, their second round pick last year.
Yeah.
Played very solid last week. Looked very good at defensive tackle. Had one very effective rush up the middle where he took on the center, moved off the center, kind of brushed the guard and was, bearing down on the quarterback, forced an incompletion. Quarterback hurry, I guess that would count for now, but well, they never used to have a stat for it. And
Sure.
Now lately they've been coming up with stats for even that. Knockdowns, hurries, pressures. So yeah, definitely, but played solid all around. I mean, guy who was looking for the football, looking to make plays. I liked what I seen out of him. This is what you want to see out of your number two. So out of a second round choice.
Right.
He should be playing next to Grady Jarrett. Based on just draft, selection. He's the guy you want to see playing next to Grady Jarrett when the season starts. But, and if he continues to play this way, why not? I mean, you're going to play Tyler Davison again? But you know what you got with him. Davidson has a lot of potential, has a lot of upside. I read an article this last week where he said that, a lot of injuries frustrated him last year, and kind of being in the NFL and kind of living the lifestyle kind of got into his head last year a little bit.
This is Davidson?
Yeah, this Davidson. He felt like he didn't give what was expected out of him last year, and he really went to work this offseason to prove something to himself and to the Falcons. And in game one, he did it. So I would like to see more of him.
I'm glad he did much better in the game because, it was the first time I was at an NFL practice. So admittedly, there's a lot to see. There's a lot to watch. I didn't have instant replays. So I can't say I saw every single Davidson play in practice. But he did not stick out to me. He did not shine. And that really was a red flag. Maybe he just had a bad day. So I'm glad he had a much better game last week.
Yeah, much better game. Another guy I want to see, Dorian Etheridge, undrafted free agent linebacker. Unfortunately, linebacker on a team with
it's a pretty good linebacker.
Yeah, a ton of defensive problems, but not at linebacker.
Right.
Question marks on defense, but not at linebacker. But and this kind of impressed me about Oluwakan the first couple of years where I was watching him, is he may not always make the play, but his number is always on your television screen. He's always around the ball. Even if Etheridge didn't make the play last week, he was around the football. His number 48 was always on the screen somewhere. And he had a lot of good closing speed in a couple of the plays where he did make plays, where he was able to make a play. Knows for the football. He knows where the ball is going. He knows where it is. Very good football, high football IQ. So I would like to see more of that out of him this week. I want to see, maybe he was up for week one, or I would like to see him do that 2 weeks in a row and maybe fight for a roster spot. Fight for more than practice squad. Fight for a roster spot on this team.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes you get your starters and your top players from unlikely spots, and Etheridge might be one of them. I really liked how he looked. Second round pick Richie Grant was not impressed with, and want to see more out of him this week. Got beat a couple of times bad. Not good for free safety. And Chris Williamson had good coverage on in the end zone on one play, but this is a guy who had good coverage last week, but kind of forgot that in the NFL you have something called back shoulder throw, and had I forget the receiver, but had him fronted, and next thing you know, Woodside's got a ball behind him, and right for the wide receiver on the back shoulder, and it's touchdown. So, you got to kind of keep an eye for it. It was a lesson that he learned last week. Watch out. Just because you have a guy covered, you're in front of him, you're between him and the quarterback, doesn't mean he's not going to get the ball. You got to keep an eye on him.
Right.
So, these back shoulder throws will kill you. They know how to do that in the NFL. Don't do that in college, but they know how to do that in the NFL.
Right. Well, I think the two safety, I don't think we said this at the top. The second team offense will be starting again today.
Yeah.
And then on defense, at least the two safeties I read will not be starting, Eric Harris and Dorian Harmon. Right. So we'll see Richie Grant again a lot. And hopefully he looks better, but hopefully that's valuable experience he gains as well, along with some of these other guys.
I think it is. I mean, I really think it is. They're getting their first taste of full speed NFL football last week. Mm-hmm. And, it's a learning experience. And as a second round pick, I expect Grant, Grant's not going anywhere. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah, we're not saying that. Yeah.
He's on this team.
Mm-hmm.
He's your second round pick. He's going to be here. I just want to see signs that he's learning. And that's what I'm looking for. He made a special teams play, so that was good. And that's another thing. A lot of these bubble guys, are they going to make special teams plays?
Right.
Are they going to flash downfield? Richie Grant made one. John Rain, backup tight end, made a couple of good special teams plays last week. So that's the kind of thing that a lot of these bubble guys are going to do to make the roster is they're going to make it on special teams. They're going to make it on coverage. So let's see who does something on coverage that knocks your eyes out. Because that's going to be a big move for them. And you saw last week what an exhibition game, a preseason exhibition. Well, they are exhibition, but what a preseason game can do for you. Jamon Moore, his one target and he dropped it, just a plain terrible drop. Well, he got cut last week. That's the kind of thing that happens. If you're on the back end of the roster and you're one opportunity and you don't do anything with it, you're gone. Who drops the catch? Who doesn't get the toe down out of bounds? I mean, that's the kind of thing you're looking for. Do they know how to get the toe drag? If they don't, keep an eye out because they might not be on the team going into the final preseason game because there's another cut down coming this week.
It's going to get the red tag in your locker, like in Major League.
Red tag, right?
Yeah.
And no incense burning or snake, like Serrano.
Right.
Pedro Serrano does all the rituals to try and make sure that there's no red tag and scare off the red tags. Mm-hmm. No, you're not going to get that in the NFL. I don't care what you do. You can give Joe Boo all the rum you want, but it's not going to keep a red tag out of your locker. I love that movie.
Oh, yeah, it's a great movie. Excellent movie. We tried to watch it before the reception last week in the groom's room. There was a groom's room next to the chapel, and the Xbox didn't work. We couldn't watch it, but we're gonna have to get together, the groomsmen, and watch it some other time.
I guess so. Yeah,
it's an excellent movie.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the two names that really I'm watching on defense. But I'm going to throw a third one in there and go back to the defensive line. John Kaminski. I think he's another guy that we need to see more from. He's been on this team. This is his third season, I believe. So, I mean, normally if you struggle as a rookie and you're going to work out, you figure it out by year two.
Yes, you do.
Normally. That doesn't mean that Kaminski can't figure it out in year three. He was drafted as a bit of a project, so maybe it takes him an extra year. But I think this is kind of it for him with this team. The regime that drafted him is gone. So he is in a situation where I think he's got to put it up or shut up. And it would really help the Falcons, not only if they get Davidson going, a draft pick that could put some pressure on the quarterback, but Kaminski as well. That would really help if they could get both those guys going.
I didn't even notice Kaminski last week. So I don't know if he actually was on the field. I don't know if he was dressed out. If he was, he made no impression.
Well, it's not good. Hopefully he didn't dress. But keep an eye on him tonight. I believe he's number 50, so he should be. I'm going to double check that. What number?
I would think he would have to dress. He's got something to prove. He can't just be.
Yeah, he's number 50. Look out for number 50 tonight.
Yeah.
Want to see something from him.
Because, yeah, you're right. I mean, third season, we really need to see something out of him to justify his selection spot in that draft. I mean, let's put it this way. The Falcons got a guy who busted for the Bears in the third round, Jonathan Bullard. And,
right now he's in front of Kaminski on the depth chart.
Yeah. They're giving him a shot, but Bullard never panned out. And finally, the Bears decided, well, it's time to cut bait here. We need we got other people who can fill this spot as well as Bullard has. The Falcons are giving him a shot, but I don't know how optimistic I am. I've seen him play, and he flashes like he's going to be a good NFL lineman, but that's just flashes. Most of the time, he's invisible.
Yeah. Yeah. So we want to see these guys kind of step up, and the depth chart doesn't mean all that much yet. And even in the regular season, it's not going to mean that much because the majority, if you're not Grady Jarrett, you're probably only going to be playing 60% of the snaps at max anyway. So even if, Tyler Davidson is ahead of Marlon Davidson heading into the season, that doesn't mean Davidson doesn't play more or Davidson isn't going to see the field. He's still going to see.
He'll see the field. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we want to see more from these defensive linemen, and we have our eyes on the safeties tonight as well for the defense.
Yeah. Right. So it'll be interesting to see. And as I said, I want to see who's going to be returning punts again this week. Are they going to give it back to Roland? Were they impressed with what they saw in week one, or are they going to give somebody else an opportunity and create a little competition for that job? Going into week 3 when the full dress rehearsal is, and you get to see who you really have, who's gonna earn that position.
I think the last point I would make is at least Orlando Ledbetter made it sound like the reason why the offensive starters aren't playing is because they played well in the joint practices against the Dolphins this week. So to me, that's a really good sign that Smith doesn't like, oh man, we're so behind on the 8 ball. I gotta play my starters on offense in this game. It's a good thing they're not playing because he feels comfortable with where they are.
Right. Yeah, and that's one of the things, as I said, I was concerned about last week and I brought it up during the show, was, you really didn't get to see Arthur Smith's offense. And I kind of thought we might see some of the ones out there this week just so he could get evaluation of them. But if they played well during the joint practices, there's really no reason to do it. Why risk injury? Why risk these guys on the field if you've seen what you wanted to see out of them? And Arthur Smith's been around. He knows what he wants to see.
Right.
So let's go ahead and he's earning roster spots. I was hoping maybe, AJ McCarron might get one series with the ones on offense, just to kind of get a better feel for how he's going to perform in this offense.
Yeah.
Because as I think he had no chance to see him. He had no chance to really evaluate. And I know we've seen him, and I was hit by this a few times last week, and I understand he's not good. He's not starting in the NFL. He's not a guy who's going to be starting in the NFL. This is a career backup, but you want to see at least what did the Falcons see in him to cause them to sign him. Other than what we got last week, which was a big pile of nothing, but he never really had a chance.
Yeah.
But you can't just throw the ones in just because you want to see what AJ McCarron can do.
That would be silly.
Right. So he's going to have to perform. He's going to have to lead these guys at some point. And, try and make something happen.
It's not like he's a rookie. I mean, he's been around for a while. So, I mean, he's used to adversity. He should be able to perform as long as, it's a little bit better blocking than last week. He should be able to perform with who he's given on the field.
Yeah, I would think so. But that's one thing, watching the Dolphins last week against the Bears, they can rush. They're going to get after them.
Yeah, they're a good defense.
They can rush the passer. They made life difficult for Andy Dalton in the first half, quarter and a half that he played. Dalton really did not have opportunities to make too many plays. So, the Dolphins defense is going to get after McCarron. That's the way it is.
You bring up Andy Dalton. I'm just kind of laughing about the comment that he made this week. And I got to ask you, is it really Andy Dalton time in Chicago? Is it his time?
No.
For the Falcons fans who missed it, Andy Dalton had this press conference that he had a lot of praise for Justin Fields and said he's going to be a great quarterback. He's going to be a franchise quarterback in this league, but it's my time with the Chicago Bears. And it's just like, Andy, maybe you end up starting. I don't know. I haven't seen him or Justin Fields yet, so who knows? But just don't say that, in a press conference. You might not even end up starting.
Well, the idea is, and Nagy's going to keep moving with this going forward, is that he wants Dalton to start. He doesn't want to put too much pressure on Fields right away.
Yeah, I understand.
So he wants Dalton to be the starter week one.
Doesn't mean he will.
Doesn't mean he will. And if Fields keeps playing, Fields looked a little shaky this first couple of series. But second half, at the start of the second half when he came out, he was really calm. He looked almost this is the NFL, big deal, So, he was calm, collected, made his reads, made his throws, made his plays, and was really smart with the football. And that's kind of what we all expected to see out of him. That doesn't make him the week one starter.
Yeah, right.
But it really does show you what he can be. And Dalton really better perform this week or,
it won't be his time anymore.
Red Rifle time is not going to be too long here in Chicago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I got your Justin Fields fill for the week.
Thank you. Threw a touchdown pass. Boy, completely faked out the Dolphins defense. They went right along with him. Jesse James kind of cut along the line to the left and was wide open. Didn't have a guy within 20 yards of him.
Did Jesse James survive the ground after making the catch?
Survive the ground after the catch.
Good. Glad to hear it.
But as I say, there wasn't anybody within 20 yards of him. So, I mean, if he didn't, that would have been a news story. But no, he survived the ground after the catch.
Glad to hear it.
I think he did during that playoff game, too.
He did. I mean,
I still insist that was a touchdown.
It was a touchdown. But we got a comment from What Okay. Should it be a concern the Falcons aren't getting their starters reps in a new offensive system, especially with a highly touted draft pick in Pitts? Other rookies are showing flashes like Fields. We just kind of discussed this about 10 minutes ago. I would say no, because of what Arthur Smith said, and if this report is true from a couple sources, that the reason why the starters are not playing on offense is because they looked good in joint practices this week against the Dolphins. Right. They don't have to play tonight because Arthur Smith is comfortable with where they are. So, no, I would say absolutely there is no concern about the offense not playing, even though there's a new system?
I mean, it's not top line competition, but it is competition. You're playing somebody other than your own defense. You're getting a chance to scrimmage against another team that, they're looking to make plays too. They're looking to, a lot of their edge of the roster guys are looking to make plays. And if Smith is happy with what he's seeing again in these practices, yeah, I wouldn't be concerned about it.
And I get that Falcons fans are coming out of the Dan Quinn regime, and maybe you're not very trustworthy of coaches right now. Well, this is not Dan Quinn anymore. This isn't the same staff. This isn't the same front office. So you have to give them some trust, I would say, as a fan, that Arthur Smith is comfortable. You need to be comfortable as a fan with where the offense is at this point.
Yeah, I would say so. Pitts is going to be fine. Don't worry about Pitts. Yeah, highly touted draft pick, but, I'm not worried. The last guy I'm worried about on this roster is Kyle Pitts. No, Don't worry about Pitts. He's going to be ready for the season. He's working with Matt Ryan in these scrimmages. So it's not like they're not getting a feel for how he's playing, how he's progressing.
Right.
So, don't necessarily question. They know what they're getting in Pitts. They know what they've seen. And as long as they're happy with what they see in these scrimmages, that's all they need.
Any other comments, questions about tonight's Falcons game against the Miami Dolphins? Let us know. We're going to be wrapping up here. We might wrap up before the hour at 1 o'clock Eastern time, but send us your comments or tweet at us if you're watching on replay at TJ Pollen, at DM Holcomb. Like and subscribe us to the channel on YouTube.
I'll definitely be watching the game tonight to see how things play out. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'll be watching as well. I'm going to be covering it for Sports Illustrated, writing a couple articles after the game. So check out si.com for those stories. I wanted to end actually with some fantasy. I'm going to maybe put you on the spot, staying with the game tonight, and this is actually perfect because the Bears played the Dolphins last week. So as a fantasy, owner, fantasy player, and just a general fan of the NFL, what do you want to see from Tua tonight?
I just want to see him continue what he did last week. He was making good decisions last week. Looked a lot smoother in his reads. Didn't look like the Bears rushed him pretty good, but he looked like he was looking downfield for plays. He was kind of keeping his eyes downfield. Made some good throws, made a couple of bad throws too. I mean, the Bears got an end zone interception off of him. And that's something that's got to be a concern for Miami fans, is he made a bad decision down in the red zone.
In the red zone, yeah.
But I want to see just can he keep hitting receivers? Can he keep leading guys like he did last week? How is he showing with his arm? Can he throw long? I still don't know if anybody has a gauge on whether Tua can throw long or not. I mean, can he hit a receiver downfield? It'd be interesting to see him try and go deep. I don't know if Flores really asked that of the Miami offense too much. And
he went deep a lot in college. At least, I didn't watch every Alabama game, but it just seemed like there were lots of highlights of him throwing deep.
Yeah, I don't – and maybe I got a wrong perception, but it doesn't feel to me like he's really tested defenses during his time in the NFL. Now, granted, I don't watch many Miami Dolphins games.
Okay.
But, unless they're playing the Bears and the Falcons. Yeah, it's I don't watch too many Miami Dolphins games, so it's hard for me to say. But even last week, it didn't look like he was looking downfield a lot. I think the Bears' second and third stringers really played well against Miami's offense last week. And you're looking at a good defense. The Bears have a top defense.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Even their second and third string players are going to make plays. So, but I want to see, how does Tua continue this growth? How can he keep it going? He had good stats last week. He played very well. I don't know Who are the running backs on that Miami team? What do they have?
Is it Miles Gaskin? I might be getting his
Yes,
first.
Miles Gaskin.
Gaskin is a really nice running back. Somebody I wasn't able to pick up from my dynasty league last year. I wish I would have or could have, but I think I got Mike Davis instead. That worked out well. But Gaskin is a really good running back. And the Dolphins, as I said before, I think they have a really great defense. I think they're a top 5 defense.
Yeah, they are.
And I think it's a big year for Tua. So this will be the first time I get to see him this year and see what he's learned after a year in the league. He was coming off of an injury last year, his last year in college. So, maybe it was all and there was talk that he wasn't going to play at all, I guess, as a rookie. So the Dolphins kind of were looking at it as a redshirt year anyway. But I want to see more from him because he was a touted a couple years ago anyway as tank for Tua. That was the guy. It wasn't Joe Burrow. It was Tua that was supposed to be the guy going number 1, and he still went in the top 10. So he really needs to prove to me that he can, with a really good team around him, can be that franchise quarterback. I think we both love Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is the solution in Los Angeles. Joe Burrow is the solution in Cincinnati.
And I'm glad you said Los Angeles because I was about to say San Diego.
I'm not saying Tua is going to be a bust, but Tua hasn't answered that question yet. Tua has not affirmatively said, "Yeah, I'm the guy." So he needs to answer that in his second season.
Right. Agreed. No, Miami Dolphins, let's see. They were 19th in net yards passing, yards per attempt. That's taken sacks and sack loss yardage into it. So, that tells me he's not making the attempts to get downfield.
Well, how many? I don't know offhand. How many games did Tua play in last year?
Let me take a look at that real quick.
Because it was Fitzpatrick for the beginning of the season.
Tua played in 9 games. Started 9 games.
I was going to guess 8. So all right, 9, about half.
But it seemed like Ryan Fitzpatrick actually went and tried to stretch defenses more than Tua did last year.
Yeah, for sure.
That just might be the case. He's a young quarterback. He's a guy who really – and, again, you look at it, guys did not get a rookie training camp or organized team activities or even a training camp last year.
Right.
He didn't have the chances that a young quarterback normally gets to assimilate an offense and get ready and prepare himself.
And he was coming off an injury too.
Yeah, he's coming off an injury. And you had Fitzmagic, instead of Fitztragic. And, well, everybody is so enamored with Ryan Fitzpatrick. For one thing, he's old. He's not the future of your franchise.
No.
He's good for a 1-year plug-in.
Right.
And if you sign him to a long-term deal, like Buffalo did years ago, he had the Buffalo Bills in first place. They signed him to a long-term deal mid-year. and he went to Fitztragic.
Yeah.
So it's, he had to deal with that crap last year. He's the guy. He's got to be the guy. If he's not, you better find out now. So, yeah, I know if he's not, Miami's going to fall out of the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. But you still got to find out. Is he the guy?
Yeah.
And you're not finding that out as long as Ryan Fitzpatrick is in your lineup. But Ryan Fitzpatrick had a better yards per pass attempt last year. So it makes me –
It was much better. I'm looking at the stats now. It was Fitzpatrick had 7.8 yards per attempt. Right. Tua was 6.3, and that was after he had more than 11 yards per pass in his last 2 college seasons. Tua did. Right. So I can't tell you those
he didn't go downfield. That tells me he wasn't trying to get the ball farther downfield. Right. Intermediate, he was relying on short routes last year.
Well, and I was just going to say that stat in college could be a little misleading because he had some fantastic wide receivers he was throwing to, and he could be throwing, wide receiver screens and they're going for 50, 60 yards. That doesn't say that he's going downfield 10 yards a pop every single time, every completion.
No,
but yeah, I have mixed feelings about. I mean, I get what you're saying, that it was definitely the right choice to move on from Fitzpatrick now. But last year, because Tua struggled so much, I actually felt like, maybe the Dolphins should have stayed with Fitzpatrick longer. You look at the records, Tua actually had a better record than Fitzpatrick did.
He did.
But I thought Fitzpatrick was going to give them a better chance to win.
Fitzpatrick has come out and said, he was shocked when he was benched.
He was, yeah. I think he said that last year. I was too. I think I just picked up Fitzpatrick in fantasy as like a backup quarterback. He was playing really well, and he got benched. So
yeah, that'll do it to you. Standard player stats. So,
and I'm glad you brought up the net passing yards per attempt. Because another thing that, Tua only threw 5 interceptions in 10 appearances, 9 starts. So that number looks really good. But he did take 20 sacks.
Yeah. And, some of that's on the offensive line. Some of it is,
yes.
That he wasn't ready to read what defenses were getting ready to do to him. And you hope that and that's what I mentioned earlier about reads. Is he reading better?
Yeah, I was going to say that all connects to what we're saying, is that he's not throwing the ball downfield. That's why he doesn't make many mistakes with interceptions, and he's holding onto the ball longer to not throw that pick. Right. He's taking the sack.
Yeah, he's being a little too safe with the football.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things you hope you learned from Fitzpatrick last year. Sometimes you just got to grip it and rip it. Let it fly. Ryan's kind of that guy. Ryan can still get the ball downfield when he wants to. When he has the guy open.
Oh, yeah. So, it's going to be interesting to see what Fitzpatrick does with, I know they were 7-9 or whatever, but
7-9. They were first in the NFC East last year.
But they were a playoff team, so it'll be interesting to see what Fitzpatrick does with a playoff caliber roster. And really, their weak spot was quarterback. So is Fitzpatrick an upgrade from what they had? I mean, maybe a small one. So if they play as well the defensive line, the Washington football team, then maybe they got something in that weak division. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Another thing, from last night, Jamar Chase apparently did not make Joe Burrows look very good. Jamar Chase had 3 drops last night. But remember, this is a guy who also didn't play last season, didn't play his last season of college football. He opted out. So it's going to be – I want to see what these opt-outs do and how they perform getting back to football. And the thing is, you're not opting out and going back to the college game. You're opting out
and going up another level. Yeah.
Now you got to play that pro game.
Right.
And Jamar Chase I've read his comments from last night, and apparently realizes that he's got a lot of he's got a big learning curve because he didn't, he is trying to come back into the game, playing at the NFL level instead of college level.
Right.
So he understands that, and we'll see how that does going forward. But, this is another thing I'm going to be looking for around the league. How do these opt-outs do?
Absolutely.
How well do they play? How do they come back?
There's a lot to watch for. So, I haven't looked at the rest of the league schedule. What other games are today or tomorrow?
We got all kinds of games today. While I wait for my computer to load up, I'll just run a little patter here for you. We got all kinds of great games. Actually, the Bills and Bears are getting ready to kick off.
Okay.
Bills at Chicago, they're here at Soldier Field. Beautiful day outside. It's going to be hot and humid. So you're going to find out what kind of stamina these guys have.
Right.
Because they're going to be sucking air after long plays.
Yeah.
It's hot and humid here today. 90 degrees and the humidity index is high. So we're gonna have fun. And Mitch Trubisky is starting, so that should be fun. We got Jets and Packers after that. Ravens, Panthers, Falcons and Dolphins, which I'm going to be watching. Playing Hard Rock Stadium. Titans and Buccaneers. Tennessee Titans get to play the world champs from last season. So we'll see how that holds up. Titans just looked like a better team all around than the Falcons did last week. But they're a more established team. They're not counting on rookies as much as the Falcons are. The Falcons played 20 undrafted free agents. They dressed 20 great undrafted free agents last week. And you're going to look a lot rougher doing that than a Tennessee Titans team that's been together now for a couple of years under Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
Lions, Steelers. So, and from what I read, Ben Roethlisberger wants to go deep into this game. He wants to get a lot of reps in this game. So we'll see how that works.
Another new offense.
Another
new offense. Yeah.
And we'll see how many ankles the Lions bite off off the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just don't get his ankles bit.
Yeah, gotta watch out for that. Big Ben.
Head coach's first conference. It's just hilarious. Colts and Vikings, Texans at the Cowboys. Boy, that's going to be a yawner. Raiders at the Rams, and they had. Raiders at Rams. Gruden pulled the Raiders off the field early in their joint practices because of fights and skirmishes, on the field. So it'd be interesting to see how this exhibition game, preseason. The NFL got very mad at people who called them exhibition games. So they're preseason games. Broncos, Seahawks. Then you have Giants and Browns at 49ers and Chargers. Oh, we got a Monday night game too. Jaguars at Saints. So, division rival. Got to watch the Saints. Got to see if Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, who's going to start, who's going to be the man. From what I've read, Sean Payton does not really know yet. It'll be interesting to see. He has no idea what he has yet. I'm thinking if Taysom Hill wins that job, you got problems, Sean.
I expect Winston to be the starter.
He's got to.
Yeah.
And Taysom Hill is he's a gimmick. He's the guy you put out there, and you knew Sean Payton was going to do something. Was going to run something weird with him when he put Taysom Hill in the game. So it really didn't get to be a surprise after a while. So,
right.
But we'll see what Jameis Winston does. Can he earn that starting spot? If he can't earn the starting spot over Taysom Hill, he's not earning the starting spot over just about anybody. That's the way it goes. So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, it'll be a fun weekend. Thanks for making us part of your weekend, part of your Saturday afternoon and morning, if you're on the outside of the East Coast. We'll be back next Saturday. Watch the Atlanta Falcons tonight. We'll be on Twitter at TJ Pollen, at DM Holcomb during the game. And check out the reaction on our channel from the game, also at SI.com. That's where I'll be writing. And we'll be back next Saturday with another episode of NFL Jocks and Pigskins at 12 Eastern. Until then, have a great weekend.